Is that? Come on, what's the deal here? All right, there we go. Whew. Okay, now we'll just wait for some people to get on here. 801 on the button. I had this cool intro, but I don't think I'm going to play it.
Nah, we don't need it.
It was a good one though. It was him, and it had.
Zaffis is all the
No,
introduction
I'm
you
just
need.
saying it did though. It had all the pictures that I took in his museum. But you're right. He doesn't need. He doesn't need an intro.
He's it.
The man's a legend.
As soon as they turn on, they're like, oh.
All right, everyone, we're on. It is Tuesday night, January 11th, and as promised, the living legend with his new shirt, Mr. John Zaffis, is joining us. John, great to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
How you been?
I'm doing good. Trying to just dodge the bullets and just trying to keep moving forward.
And staying out of trouble.
So it's funny because we were talking before we get into the actual interview, and believe me, I'm not going to talk about myself. People criticize me for talking about myself in the interview with Jason. Not going to do it. So fear not. But John and I were talking about COVID and Omicron and doing events, and John was good enough to invite the two of us to his home in November after my birthday. Got to see the museum, which was incredible, and I can't thank you enough for doing that. But he was nervous. We talked about this, about the pandemic and being secluded for so long, and then being around people, and then he goes and does this event this past weekend, right?
Yeah, again, the whole thing with all of it, it was one of those circumstances where I wasn't able to just cancel from being able to do that at that point in time. But I mean, they had it all structured. They promised everybody would have masks. They were checking everybody's temperature. They were checking their COVID cards, and the whole 9 yards, and everything was spread out. So it was a little bit more relaxing. But it's to the point, I think, with each and every one of us now. I mean, I was so stressed out just going.
Yeah.
And worrying about everything, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's just totally crazy. But it felt good to finally just be out there and be able to do a little bit and intermingle. But here we go again. Now we're going into year 3, where we're all dealing with this, and it's a little bit rougher on us old timers here.
That's what we were talking about.
3 years is a lot. Asking 5. I mean, come on, I'm on my last year.
That was really funny because we were talking about, you're in your 60s, I'm in my 50s, and we were talking about, like, for a 20-year-old, losing a year or two is like,
it's
you got
nothing.
But for 50, 60, 70, whatever, it's like dog years, man. It's 7 years. You lose a year, you know it, man. There's a lot you could have crammed into that year.
He's calling us dogs.
It's true. I keep telling everybody that. I go, man, this past 2 years, man, that was a big. We'll get through it and everything. I go, no, you don't understand. I'm on the last leg of my journey here, pal. There ain't many years left.
I don't have time to waste, damn it.
No.
Let's go. Let's get this taken care of. But again, it's not just the anxiety either, is it? From just the COVID. It's also because we're cut off from people so much. There's that anxiety of being around so many people as well.
I know just about each and every one of us, when I do talk to, other people that do these things and everything, it's all of us that are going through this, We're so used to being out there in and out, and socializing and everything. It's a strange feeling now because we all view and look at everything where we take that step back. If somebody's coughing or hacking or something like that, we all jump now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something that just, I'm hoping we're going to be able to move past it, but it's going to be hard now because, again, we're, from being isolated so much and not being around everybody so much, it changes you. And
the anxiety, it causes a lot of different issues.
It does. It causes social anxiety. It's like you've learned to distance, which was hard to do, and now, you've got that wall up, and being around people, that panic, that anxiety of being around people. And like you said, someone sneezes and coughs, everybody immediately looks for the culprit.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing this time around is pretty much like we did the last time. I am one of the many that are, fascinated. I finally got to see the museum, which was, forget about it. There's so much stuff in that museum. And I finally got a chance to see it for myself and take pictures and everything and be around those objects. So John's going to have another 3 of them. Or is it 3 or only 2? How many do you have?
3.
3. So another 3 that we're going to kind of look at, and he's gonna tell the stories about how he came to have them and his whole process as far as how he acquires these objects and what he does once he acquires. We're going to go through all that. We're also going to talk about a lot of other things. For those of you who don't know, and I don't know anybody out there who doesn't, John Zaffis, who, the guy's royalty in the paranormal. I say that, not jokingly. I mean, he is, we were just talking about the newer shows, Destination Fears, and the younger guys out there. But, John's done it all, seen it all, been part of it all, and he really is someone that I look up to. Definitely, I have for years and years. And a lot of people don't know about. They know him from the Haunted Collector, which
everybody misses that show.
Yeah, and they do. People, are you surprised? Still, people talk about that show and they miss the show, and they kind of ask you. I see people still ask you, "Are you coming back after all these years?"
Oh yeah, no, it's because. Over the past few years, that when they were doing the marathons and the reruns, when they do them every once in a while, our numbers and plus with everybody being home, a lot of people got to see it that never saw it before, and the popularity of it just went right through the roof. So it made me feel good, and it's a good feeling. So many new people get to see it and watch it. And what I have noticed is people view it differently now.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the old time, people that, were watching it in the beginning, they'll come back with, I look at it differently now, John, in comparison to the way I did when you first aired, and it's, I took that chance and went out there. I knew there was going to be criticism. I knew, there'd be all kinds of things going on about it. But look at it now. Everybody and their brothers got collections. Everybody's out there.
You got that right.
Bringing things out and showing different things, which is cool. I mean, it's got to continue. There has to be other people, doing it and carrying on a lot of those things. And I support definitely, quite a few of them. Centauri and Cody. I think the world of those 2 kids. I've known them.
They're good. They're good people too.
Years with their collection and them getting out there in the forefront and stuff. So again, it feels good because people view it and look at it with the intent that I originally had. And again, it's just makes me feel good.
So if you were like with the Ghost Hunter guys, like with Jason, Steve, and Dave, and if you were offered tonight, someone contacted you and said, "We're going to reboot Haunted Collector. We want you to be fully in charge of every aspect of it. You get to cast it. You get to script, story, whatever you want to do is soup to nuts." Would you do it?
Where are you? Where does that exist?
I'm just saying, if that were on some weird planet that were to happen, would you do it?
I don't know. I never say no.
Right.
I'm not. Again, there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of different things that come up over the course of time with different things and different people. Approaching me, as far as doing another show or being a part of another show. Excuse me. No, it's not COVID. But anyways, I never say no. Again, I don't know how or if something would come about, whether I would or I wouldn't. It would depend on a lot of different factors.
Well, that's what.
Because, one thing you always have to remember, John. Once you've done a TV show and once you've been involved with everything, there's not too many things you don't know, and a lot of things that you have to, take into consideration, and a lot of things you have to, deal with. Now, as far as, getting criticized or ripped apart, that's nothing new after 50 years. I'm used to that.
No.
So that doesn't faze me. But again, it's just, if something was the right ingredient in something, again, that I would be very gun-ho, so to speak, to be able to move forward with. I might possibly consider it.
But
would I be surprised, or would I expect anybody to be surprised to maybe later on in the fall or something like that see me pop up? No, I might. I just might.
See? You heard it here first, people. But that's what I'm talking about. If it was laid out in front of you where we want you to come back to Discovery or whatever, and they offered you whatever project you wanted to do, would rebooting Haunted Collector even be in the discussion, or would it be something totally different if you had your way?
If I had my way, I'd be doing Naked Paranormal.
Oh my.
Beyond.
And if I had my way, I would have to wear a blindfold while I watched it.
And look at Chris. If I want to get viewers,
I think we were doing that before we went on with you showing us your new shirt.
I'm telling you right now, if I ever announced that and I ever did that, we'd get 50,000 billion viewers, because that would finally do it.
Oh my! Oh, and 3D television would come back.
He would do it with you.
No.
Oh yes, you would.
No. I would do a lot of things to be on TV, but
everybody's saying that would be quite the show.
Yeah,
yes.
people are signing up for
I
that.
think it would be. I'd be laughing so hard I probably wouldn't even be able to talk.
Jeez,
that would be a spirited show in a whole different realm.
Oh my!
Different realm.
Oh my! I Discovery just took them off of their
the
speed dial. They're not even calling them after that.
The whole idea of that show, Naked and Afraid.
No, if anything, that'll torque them up even more now. They're going, all right, let's pitch that to him. He'll do it.
You hear what she just said? Naked and Afraid.
Naked and
It
Afraid,
would be the real Naked and Afraid.
I mean, like,
yeah, but it would have to be afraid and naked.
Oh my! See what happens when you're cooped up so long? Look what's going on here. All right, so let's start. Let's get serious and let's start. People are going to blame me for this. Now, we were talking about, again, for those of you who don't know John is actually the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. We all know Ed and Lorraine from the Conjuring movies, Amityville. A lot of people know Ed and Lorraine. You actually were kind of taught by Ed and mentored by Ed, right?
Yes.
And he is what got you into the field, really.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't really that big into the paranormal till, 15, 16 years old. And again, would always hear the stories, would listen to, him tell them. Me and my 4 other cousins that grew up were all in the same age bracket. And when Ed and Lorraine would come over to visit my grandmother, his mom, because she lived with us, and he would just start telling us ghost stories and everything. I mean, this would be at Christmas time, Easter, it didn't matter. And I can still remember when my grandmother was alive, and she'd go, oh, here we go again. He's talking about that crap again. And blah, blah, blah. And it would be hysterical just watching it. And he would just he'd go, Ma, the kids love it. And she'd go, like that, my grandmother. It was funny just to watch it. But again, dealing with all that and everything. But it wasn't, this is marking my 50th year of being in the paranormal.
Wow.
So, I turned 66. And I'm gonna, be marking.
And you want to be naked on TV?
I bet I can get Geritol to sponsor.
I'll show you how old I am. That younger generation.
I know who that would be sponsored by for sure.
Yeah, anyway. But I want to be Tarzan.
Okay, maybe if you're listening, Travel or Discovery, here's your pitch. Let's get this sizzle.
But that okay.
I'm gonna wait and see how many people offer to be
That's
Jane.
the worst part. We're drinking coffee and tea.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Caffeine.
That's what actually set me off. And at that point, at the foot of my bed, seeing my grandfather, he was shaking his head back and forth. Went downstairs, told my mom about it, and she goes, "Did it say or do anything?" And I go, "Well, just shook its head back and forth." She goes, "Well, Johnny, that was your grandfather, my father." And I go, "Well, Ma, how do you even know that?" And she goes, "Well, you're not going to remember him," because I was 4 years old when he passed away. He was a very stern man and never really said too much or anything. And she was explaining it to me. Then a few days afterwards, which was November 14th,
My birthday.
my grandmother passed away.
Oh.
So, when you hear some of the different stories in the different things, my uncle was always convinced that there was some tie-in with the murders of the DeFeos that night and the night my grandmother passed away.
Really?
He swore up and down there was some type of connection there.
Wow.
And, again, it's just weird because over the years I would just think about it and go, it is a weird parallel. Now, here's another weird parallel to it. My birthday, December 18th, is when they moved into the Amityville house.
That's weird.
So, again, it's just these weird little things that connect together that you try to, there is no connection really.
Right.
But it's just bizarre how some of those things line up and everything. But anyhow, at that point, that's when I started really getting an interest in it and started going to, some of the haunted known locations that, are around here and different things. One of the most notorious known hauntings, and it was in the late 1800s, it was called Phelps Mansion here in Stratford, Connecticut.
Oh.
I mean, people came in from all over the world to investigate it and all those crazy things. I still can remember me and two of my buddies going in there. It was abandoned at that point in time. Actually, I have a brick from it, from when they tore it down. That's another thing. I did so many different things, and I forget about them until I start talking about the story. Anyhow, going back, I remember we were hearing all kinds of noises and crazy things, and the three of us ran right back out, jumped on our bicycles, and took right off. And I still laugh to this day over it. I go, gee, I wonder if it was just animals, or was there really something going on in that house? So anyways, it's just a bizarre thing. Okay, here's another weird coincidence. They tore it down and they turned it into a little development. In the street that they put in the middle of the property, they named it Rosemary.
Oh.
So again, who in the world would ever name a street like that on one of the most haunted pieces of property?
That is
what
weird.
I think right away is Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
That's what I thought when you said Rosemary.
Yeah, you think you wouldn't want any connection to anything, really.
He froze.
Related. Did he?
Did we lose you, John Zaffis?
Uh-oh. Where'd you go, John? Uh-oh. You're gone, John.
He's gone, but we're fine.
No, he's gone. I guess hopefully he reconnects here. John, if you can hear me, just re-click the link. See if you can get back in. If you can hear me, John. Oh boy.
You have to take him down.
Usually that happens on our
Yeah, he
end.
froze on his end.
Yeah, he's frozen on his end. I'm gonna send him a message here to get back in.
That's a good pose too.
I know. Look at how he is. He was just talking
Hey.
about Rosemary's Baby.
He just and
Yeah,
now he's gonna
hopefully he's
connect
gonna
it
come
again.
back in. Yeah, that's what happens when you talk
Yeah,
about Rosemary's
that's
Baby.
exactly it.
So hopefully he'll be coming back in. We did ask him to bring on 3 objects. So hopefully he's just gonna re-click the link, and I'm gonna send him a message right now. Re-click the link.
See, this is what happens when you talk about doing ghost hunting naked. See?
I know he's the one who did it to himself there.
Facebook kicked him off.
I think you're right about that, though. Maybe they did. Wouldn't that be funny? That would be hilarious.
Oh my God, that would be
He was
too
getting
much.
a little too risque for
Oh,
Facebook, and they booted him. Yeah, he must be still trying to figure it out on his end. But
Yeah,
I
his
just
John Scratch went completely away as soon as we left there, believe it or not. Her town, first of all, I want to say hi to John McGinnis is on here.
Let me call him. Just tell him to re-click the link.
Yeah. We'll get him back.
If not, we'll be able to hear him.
Rosemary's Baby booted him.
Live telephone call. You don't see this on any interviews. Maybe his computer crashed on him. He's getting naked. That's hilarious.
Oh no, let's not hope so.
Maybe that's what he's doing.
Hi, this is John Zaffis. You've reached the Zaffis residence. Please feel free to leave a message.
Not answering his phone either. What the heck happened to him?
Come back. Right?
I think his computer might have crashed on him or his phone.
Oh.
Well, we'll give it a little bit here, and hopefully he comes back on. So, like I said, when we talked to him earlier, he, we were talking about objects that he was going to bring on. He did bring on 3 the last time. Oh, there he is. Hold on. There he is.
And everything, I start talking about Rosemary's Baby and everything crashes.
No, Facebook banned you from talking about getting naked.
Because you talked about getting naked, Facebook kicked you off. And people said, no, you were getting naked.
That's what they thought. You were going to come back on naked. They were all waiting for that.
Oh, that would, my God, that'd be a scary thing to see.
So, we were talking about the early days and the things you did and with Ed. Did Ed have like in the movies? Did Ed have a museum when you were young? Did he have a place where those objects were?
Again, it's so funny. I laugh when I just recently had read some crazy article a person had put out about the 10 worst things on Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Okay.
And as I'm reading through the article, I'm like, man, you don't even check your history. You don't check anything, and you're writing this up. Okay. Ed and Lorraine Warren originally started out as painters, and they had a barn on their property, and it was a art studio. They used to teach.
Okay.
And back when I was a kid and everything, I used to go up because I used to do a lot of painting too, but I stopped over the years. But anyhow, their original building on the property there was an art studio. And they, and Ed and Lorraine used to talk about this quite a bit too. They used to do the paintings. They would do them up. Now, they did used to go to locations, and he would sketch things out, come back, and he would paint the house. They would go back to the haunted location, present them with the painting so they'd get into the house. That is a true story.
Okay.
But, people, the way it got interpreted and the way this article had written it was like, you're jumping right into the paranormal, but their foundation was being artists, and people don't even realize how good Lorraine was. I have several paintings of hers.
Wow.
Actually they were my mom and dad's, and right. I have them now. But again, that's how they got started. And Ed and Lorraine would talk about this quite often, that they used to make such a good living off of selling their paintings and everything. They did fantastic. Now, as time went on, they were getting more involved with the paranormal. We had the Bridgeport poltergeist that broke out. You had Amityville that broke out. And that's what threw them into the forefront of being known in the paranormal, realm.
Right.
It just opened everything, wide open from that perspective. So, again, too, I look and read a lot of these different things, and Ed and Lorraine never laid claim to saying they were the first people in the Amityville house. They were very open about it, that, they were called in afterwards, and they were brought in by Laurie DiDio, one of the reporters. So I read a lot of this, and then I was reading also in there too, they were stating with Conjuring 2, the Enfield Voices, the Hutchinson case, which would be Conjuring 2, they said, they only spent 1 day over there. Again, my uncle was over there. He had spent several days with 2 of the other researchers. Him and Lorraine had spent time over there. So, if you're going to print something and put something out there, at least get the freaking facts right.
We live in a society now that you don't have to have things correct. You can just put out whatever you want, and it makes it true.
Yeah. So, again, still with the foundation with a lot of it, and then they started ripping the Haunting in Connecticut apart. Okay, now you're taking it a step too far. I was there. I know what went down. I know what happened. Was the house haunted? Yes. Did they have several different types of level demons in that house? Yes. Did everybody fall victim to it? Yes. So again, it's the nature of it when you see and you read different things and you were around and the foundation to a lot of the stories and things like that. You can't control what they're going to do in the movies. You can't always control, what they're going to end up putting in there or not putting in there. So again, we go for entertainment value to get scared.
You better believe it. Yep.
No, I don't care. I'm still like that now. If I went to go see a scary movie and if I don't get scared and my popcorn doesn't fly up, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
That, to me, is not a paranormal scary movie. If you want to watch a documentary, that's a different thing. Documentaries, you're going to expect to see more factual stuff in it. So again, I just look at it and I don't even comment or waste my time on a lot of it because it's like it's not even really worth it a lot of times. I know the truth, and that's what matters.
Yeah, but that's the thing with social media now, especially like what you're talking about. They're not around anymore to set the record straight or comment on any of these people's accusations so I mean, and with social media, anybody could do it anywhere on their phone on it, and they do. And you're kind of, I hate to say it, but you and a few others are the ones that are still around that can say things like what you just said and set the record straight because you were there and you did live it and you did know them.
Well, he would have to set it all the time.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Here was another thing I was reading in this article, and it took me back because, again, self-proclaimed demonologist. Anybody that's a layperson is self-claimed demonologist. Did my uncle and my aunt work with a lot of clergy? Yes, I was there when they would have 4 or 5 priests over there talking about some of the cases that they were working on.
Wow.
I was witness to it. I would see it. The head honcho, Father Labar, I was there. I knew him. So again, when people make these accusations and they make these statements, I wish they would dig in a little bit deeper to get a better comprehension of it. Because here again, too, when you do take the stance and you go to stand up, they go, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're in the field and it was your aunt and uncle." No, I call it as it is. It is what it is. If it wasn't what I seen and what I witnessed or what I was a part of, then that's a different thing. I can't, back that or, say anything to it outside of what I know from them. So, but
you were always honest about that, Steph. Even the very first time I think I met you face to face, we were talking about Ed and Lorraine and the movies. I think maybe the first movie just came out or something. And you were very honest about it. You told me, they mixed a few stories together. They took liberties in some of the storytelling on the movies. I mean, like you said, that's Hollywood. Hollywood does that, but it does tarnish and taint the image a little bit because, people see little things here and there that they think is unbelievable or this wasn't necessarily what happened in this order. They will call BS and the whole thing was a hoax. The whole thing, there's a lot of that, but that's everywhere in the field.
But the movies are for entertainment purposes. They're not really for.
Right. But the
people
whole
don't
thing,
look at it that way.
Right.
Yeah. The whole thing is when you look at this, I'd love to know one paranormal movie that's out there that is based strictly on the facts. Just, I don't know of one.
No.
And I'm going back, again, we're Amityville, The Entity. All these stories were so distorted.
Yeah.
Well, not really distorted, but, again, if you stuck to the facts of it, you'd probably be bored to death with it.
Yep.
So I just look at these movies and look at them and, again, watch them, but I do it for the entertainment of it. And again, on the flip end of it, when I lecture, people want to know the facts about something, and if I know it, I will gladly share it with them. And
Right.
both of you know that. I'll tell you, if I don't know something, I'll go, I don't know. I don't really know about it, so therefore I can't really say. I can only tell you what I know or what was shared with me and, was explained to me. So
Well, you were talking about demonologist, and you are a demonologist.
that's what they tell me.
Okay. Now, what was the process for you in becoming did someone certify you a demonologist, or is that a title you give yourself, or how does that come to be?
To be honest with you, I never even gave it to myself.
Okay.
It just started because of the simple fact. How it all came about was I made that decision when I was in my 20s to want to know if people really got possessed.
Right.
Were there really demons? Did these things exist? And, there was like a 45-minute conversation with Ed, and sitting with him, he didn't want me to get involved with it. He told me your whole life is going to get altered. He said things are going to happen, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he went into such depth about the whole thing, and I still can remember it. He leaned forward, he looked at me, and he goes, do you really want to get involved with all of this? I go, yeah, I'm not worried about it. John, he looked right at me and glared right back at me and pointed at me, and he goes, I am. You're my blood. You are my nephew, and I don't want to have to deal with my sister if something happens to you. And as time unfolded and things started happening, I mean, I got, I already had met several priests and some ministers and things at their home that sometimes when they would go to do different things, I was fortunate enough to be able to go with them.
Right.
I mean, seeing a rabbi do what they do, seeing what a minister does, a shaman, a medicine man. Back then, 45 years ago, people weren't ever exposed to any of that stuff.
Right.
But that's what intrigued me even more, because I started taking it all in and going, all these different belief systems believe in this stuff, and watching it. And people don't realize how integrated and how much my aunt and uncle got involved with, other religions and other practices and other things that were behind the scenes, but they followed their Christian roots. That's what they did for them. But when it came to research and stuff like that, I seen them get involved with freaking everything. There wasn't anything they didn't get involved with. And a lot of times I'd get involved with it too. I can remember a couple of different times he'd call up screaming and yelling at me because I would go get involved with something. He goes, what are you, out of your freaking mind? And I'll go, well, I just wanted to know what it was all about. And then he would bust out laughing. He would just start laughing. And it was just at that point, and that's what got me really involved with it. And again, I think about the only certification I really had as far as being a demonologist came from Bishop McKenna, and he had given me a document that I had the training of up teen years. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, that's about the only thing that I have that, I could say. Because the other thing too is that there's a tremendous, you and I've talked about, there's a tremendous amount of cases that I get involved with I just never talk about publicly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't. If that family chooses to go public,
Yep.
fine. If the clergy involved with it wants to go public,
Yep.
fine. You got my support. Yeah, I was there. I know what happened. But I'm not one to grandstand and do that and bring somebody out to the forefront. That has to be their choice.
And again, you mentioned something that everybody should kind of research other people's beliefs and other people's, religions, because that is all part of it. How do you know like you said, any individual case, the people you're dealing with and what their beliefs are and what the beliefs are of the person who may have passed that you're dealing with? You kind of do have to have a well-rounded education and perspective of kind of everything, because you just don't know what you're going to be dealing with from the client or the deceased, right? I mean, if you really think about it.
Yeah. Again, being analytical.
Right.
Especially with the demonology end of this work, to me, is one of the most critical and most important things, because I'm very fascinated. I'm still to this day, you know, when we're sitting talking or I get involved with the case that has nothing to do with Christianity or something, again, to me, the most important thing is to be able to help a person out.
Yep.
And I don't know too many people out in the forefront, you know, that their phone can ring and I could be getting a call from, you know, anything. It could be a rabbi, a minister, it could be just about anybody, and I can have a conversation with them. And they always say the same thing to me: we don't have to worry about anything with you because you don't turn around and start. I said, no, you know, that's not what it's about to me. Now, again, that's it. It was learning and understanding a lot of it, and you know, unfortunately, I've watched over the past several years where a lot of that is diminished now. A lot of it is gone where people aren't even interested in learning or understanding, you know, what it is to be involved and what it takes to, do a lot of these different things.
Their idea of doing that is watching, Ghost Hunters every week. I mean, unfortunately, it is for a lot. But you actually attended, you witnessed and took part in, I assume, real exorcisms. I saw that on a documentary. I think one that you were. Now, how many did you actually were you involved in? Do you know, or did you witness? I mean, are we talking hundreds? Are we talking?
I would say, again, there's just so many different, quote unquote exorcisms or deliverances, clearings. To me, it's all the same thing. If you look at it, I mean, the rites and things are different when it comes to an individual, yes. But I mean, there's so many different things that I've gotten involved with over the years. From a Christian perspective, I'd say maybe 120, 130.
Wow.
And of those,
that were legit,
right?
Things that I would say, other circumstances with watching, and being involved with different ceremonies with, Buddhists or rabbis. John, it's so intriguing to watch what they do.
Oh, I could imagine.
It just, I stand there to this day and still go, in a state of awe watching what they do and how they handle it and, how they go about all of it. It just, again, to me, it's most important to be very respectful of a lot of the different belief systems and what a person believes in or what they don't believe in.
Right.
That's, the nature of it.
Of those, are they one and done type of rituals, or is there you have to go back? I mean, does it vary?
The majority of the time, it could take several times.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, there are cases there are in that pile that I could say one time did it. One time we were able to break. They were able to break it. We were able to move forward, and the family was able to move forward. But again, a lot of times it takes multiple times to be able to do it. Because my best analogy with doing any of this, it's like a recovering alcoholic or an abuser or a drug addict. You have to, keep building yourself up to be able to fight it back.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else.
Yep.
It's not boom, 1, 2, 3. You'll laugh at this. I'll share part of it. I got contacted. They were doing, then this is most recent. They were interested in me for a TV show, blah, 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 and wanted to know some of my credentials and things like that. And I was like, okay. Another mutual friend had called and said, John, please at least talk to the person.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And we were going back and forth. Okay, yeah, you're going to go in to the pile of a whole bunch of people, and if we should possibly select you, somebody will contact you. And I felt, I fell out laughing, and I go, here we go again. Someone reaching out, trying to do a paranormal show and don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Oh, my God.
So I fired back. You'll love this. I fired back with, I'll tell you what. I'll interview you, your company, your cases, and let you know if I'm interested.
I mean, like, what are we talking about here? Looking through headshots for actors and
come
okay,
on.
you'll fit the role of this, you'll fit the role of that.
Come
How
on.
ridiculous! Like, how do they expect anybody to believe this stuff?
I know,
You know?
but that's that's the nature of it. And again, it's an important element. I don't care what you're producing. I don't care what you're doing. Learn something about what you're getting involved with.
I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
You said you've done about 100 to 120 cases of some type of exorcism. Have you found any correlation of why these people get possessed? Is there some kind of characteristic or something that opens
Common
you up
denominator
for a possession? Yeah.
I would say at least 90% of the time, someone has opened up a door, whether it was done deliberately or innocently, because people do a lot of innocent things, especially today, with challenging and wanting to know if things are for real or not. So there is a common thread where you'll find out, along the lines that something transpired, something happened, that person granted permission, to let it enter them. So therefore, I mean, there are those cases, far and few in between, where I've never been able to find out, what was done or what happened that this person, ended up falling victim to this. Again, there's usually, reasons why a person ends up going through it or going through, a haunting or something like that.
Right.
And a lot of times people just don't want to tell you because they're afraid if they do tell you, you're not going to help them. But with me, it's just the reverse. If you tell me, I'm more apt to help you than not.
Yeah.
And don't, come back, 10 times late, 10 conversations later or, 2 or 3 exorcisms later and go, oh, by the way, I was sitting there playing the Ouija board and we brought in every demon that you could possibly think of, but I forgot to tell you. No, I don't buy that.
No.
I don't buy the fact that you just happen to remember that now. Again, it's with situations like that because it's just crazy. But people get scared.
Right.
Yeah. I understand that they're afraid if they tell you, you're going to start judging them. But to me, that's not what it's about. None of this has got anything to do with judging. So
somebody asked if there's a book that you could recommend or something that you can recommend for people to learn more about demonology.
Oh gosh, it's a difficult type of thing. There's several books out there. Malachi Martin's books, the basics of anything 101 on demonology to be able to gain knowledge of it. And a lot of different books out there with case studies and things on it. One thing that was never meant, and it probably, as far as I go, is that, demonology is something that I respect and I watch my boundaries.
Right.
It's not something that I would go on TV and start talking about with all the different things, the nitty gritty that goes on with it. Because, again, for thousands of years, this has been done. It's, we can go all the way back to the Egyptians and the Greeks and, even in Judaism, where a lot of these things transpired and took place, but the respect was always kept within, that spiritual community, to be able to help people and to be able to do different things. And that's how I view it and how I still view it today. And, I probably will always view it from that perspective. Because I look at it from this point too, John, when it comes in to the demonology part of this and the heavier part of the spiritual end of it, a lot of this stuff, once it's out there, again, it can get countered. Once it starts getting countered from a negative perspective, therefore you have to reevaluate everything. And you know, again, that's how I was taught by a lot of the elders in every different denomination I've ever dealt with. I mean, I've even had Wiccan and pagan people tell me the same thing. You know, some of the things I've seen them do and practice, I won't repeat. It goes against what I stand for as far as being involved with the demonology field. I don't know if that makes any sense to people.
No, it does.
Total.
You had mentioned, again, this takes my mind to another place, and I'm even thinking about your museum and the things that I did see down there. You mentioned Ouija boards. Do you really believe, and have you seen, is it true, Hollywood, TV, can you bring a quote-unquote demon in through a Ouija board, do you think?
Do I think that the actual Ouija itself can do that? No. You have to have a catalyst. Okay, and what I mean by a catalyst, the people that play it and the people that use it are the ones that are opening up the door to the spirit realm and bringing spirit in. Right. I've known people that have played with Ouija, never had a bad experience, never had anything happen to them, but we deal with people that opened it up and something on a negative level can come through. So therefore, no matter what you do, no matter what you get involved with, you take that chance that once you open up that door, or a lot of people refer to portals and all these other things, you know, the spirit can come through, and it can be on a negative, it could be on a positive. Can it trick you? Absolutely. You have to keep your guard up all the time. Again, I view everything and watch everything very guardedly. But that's me. That's how I was trained and how, you know, I got brought into it. And again, so to sum it up, is it the Ouija board itself? No. It's the individuals that use it that, you know, could bring something.
But again, this is my biggest argument when it comes to that. And I don't want to get too much into this, but aren't you basically doing the same thing on any level of spirit communication? If you think about it, it's all about how you're doing it, your intent, you know, what you're inviting in, you know, what you are as a person, if you're vulnerable. I mean, it's all the same elements, kind of. But I just wanted to, I don't remember seeing one in your museum. That's why I asked you. I didn't really, now that I'm kind of picturing in my head, do you have any there?
What?
Ouija boards.
Piles of them.
Oh, do you? I didn't really even notice them.
Oh, there's piles of them.
There must have been a separate wing just for. So now that
you're gonna laugh at this because I just was moving some bookshelves trying to make some room in the hoard in there, which you had seen, and there's and I laughed because I said, "How many are here?" And these are from cases and boxes that I had worked on, and it was 28 of them just piled up. That, you know, and I had my little stickers on them, what they were from and stuff.
I just got an idea.
There are a ton that I wouldn't say I have, maybe about 100 if I have that. Wow. Again, you know, as far as Ouija goes. But again, I just look at things, and the one person I always tell people, if you ever get the opportunity to hear Bob Murch speak, he's ahead of the whole Ouija board. You know, he keeps it going. Phenomenal speaker on the Ouija, on its history, on what it's all about. You know, again, I find that, you know, very important because he's explaining all of it, because Hollywood in history and everything, just like with everything else, blows everything out of proportion. So, again, it is what it is.
Did you ever feel like in the early days or any time going anywhere or handling any object did you ever feel like you had an attachment? Do you believe in them? As far as
I believe very strongly in that. I call them hitchhikers.
Right.
There's many a times where, you know, I feel like spirit might be around, especially if we're working on heavy duty type cases. I have no qualms about anybody doing prayers, different scenarios with things, clearing things.
Right.
I am not one to buck and I would not think twice about picking up the phone and saying to one of my spiritual friends, hey, I think there's something around, and I want to nip it in the bud before something actually major could take place. I mean, again, I don't think I've ever been possessed. My wife might disagree, but I don't think
I think she did mention that when we were there, when you were in the other room. But that's a good point too, because we were talking about, you have children, you have kids, they're grown
Yeah.
now, but and as your career has evolved and these objects have been coming to you one way or another, you never exposed the kids or your wife to these objects. You're telling us what your process was as far as when you either acquired the objects from a location, a case, or when people sent them to you. What does that process look like? What do you do with the object after you acquire it?
uh, depending on the circumstances, a lot of times when things do get shipped to me and spiritual people have already, worked with the family or were working with the item or whatever, they could have already done a lot of the different things that needed to be done. And as you're aware, I think I showed you, there's a smaller barn out behind the big barn where I put the items in a lot of times. I will do my blessings, do my bindings, do the different things that I do over them. Sometimes other things, again, depending on circumstances, are there where I'll go, okay, that's staying out there to one of my, friends should show up, and I'll say, hey, do me a favor and, do your hoodoo woodoo over everything. And, again, it's just the way I operate or the way I will handle certain types of things, knowing, I'm still a very firm believer in the simple fact that, I think, especially with the demonology aspect of this field, I think children need to be guarded. I think, it's not a safe zone to get a child involved with a lot of this. They're too young. They don't understand. And it's up to us to watch and be protective of that child, whether it's teaching them and getting them to move forward with their spirituality. They don't really need to be exposed to a lot of, those elements. I still feel that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to change on that one. When they're old enough, I mean, granted, kids at 12 and 13 today, it's a different world today.
Yeah, but
I understand that.
But they don't have the life lessons
right.
to even begin to comprehend how to deal with something like that.
So,
It's impossible.
Again, when it comes into, aspects of different things like that, I'm still very guarded. I'm very careful, with it. But that's, it's me. Today it's, a different world with what I see sometimes, and, watch what other people do, but that's their path or whatever they're following or whatever, how they're doing it. But, again, I watched it right from, over the past 50 years, even when I was a lot younger, again, too, in my teens and everything. My uncle would always say, you got to be, extra careful, extra guarded, you're vulnerable. You're still, he used to say, you're wet behind the ears. Remember that old saying?
Oh, yeah.
Lorraine used to say it all the time too. You're still wet behind the ears. You're still wet behind the ears. Give yourself a chance. Learn as much as you can. Learn as much as you can before you start. And I still look at it that way. And again, I don't really think it's something that I would probably ever change on. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I try to comprehend. I try to understand so much when I see other people out there doing things or getting involved with things, and I cringe, and I'm like, am I just stuck in my way of thinking and looking at things? Probably.
Right.
But am I going to budge? No.
But here's this. But
some people live and they learn.
But let's be honest about this. Let's put it into perspective. You've dealt with, you've seen, you've experienced. What do you think the take would be on these individuals that do? Okay, like people who feel that they can take on demons, and demons they're afraid of them because they're such a strong person, or they feel that demons are afraid of them because they're so powerful. They haven't experienced what a true demon is. If you can talk like that and you think you've got that kind of power over something that's not a living being, and you can't see it, and it's to me, demons are very powerful. What I think their ideals and how they approach this would change if they really came across a true demon. I don't think that they would do some of the things that they do because they know better.
No. You have to remember we have the area where people get involved with a lot of things, summoning demons and bringing demons to the forefront. Demons, listen to me, right? But bringing this stuff to the forefront. You have people on the other end of it that again, just believe in the light. They don't believe in getting involved with that. Then you have people in the gray area that go both ways. There's people that practice these things, that summons demons and everything. That's their choice. That's their belief system.
Yeah.
So therefore, again, if that's working for them, again, the one thing that I always say, at the end, you got to pay a price. At the end, there's always something that has to come to the forefront, because when you're dealing with deities, demons, or, any of this, you're cutting deals, basically, to be able to work with them. So again, people have to understand that and rationalize with the simple fact of that, a person makes that choice, that's fine. That's up to what an individual does. But again, too, a personal set, and I've had this said to me by a very heavy-duty practitioner in the dark arts. He goes, you basically do the same thing, when you're praying and, you're doing this and you're doing that. And I had to take a step back and think about that. And he's absolutely right. Yeah. He's absolutely right. Again, we do it with different intent and different motive. But again, it's the same thing. We call upon the positive, because I'm a very big believer in angels and the power of prayer. I always have been and always will be, where people believe when they practice certain things that they call on different deities and demons and summons them to do some of the things. But again, at the end of the day, they're going to call in their markers. Yeah. And when those markers get called in, I don't want to be around.
I say once you get exposed to something, like when I'm talking to John about this and I'm trying to explain to him, for me, what it's like and why. It's not that I'm fear. Well, yeah, I have a healthy respect. I don't want to deal with the darkness. I got that stuff.
Why do you keep pointing to me when you say that? You keep more...
But I always try to explain to him that once you've come across something like that, you're stained. There's something that just never goes away. It's a part of you now.
Well, it's an interesting theory. Even what you said, though, if you really think about it, it is really interesting to think that if you do, yin and yang counterbalance, that if you are one way towards the light, praying, building up yourself in a positive, good way, that if you go the other way, whether it's doing bad things or calling in negative energies, like you said, there is a price either way. The scales have to kind of be somewhat balanced, or you are going to suffer
the debt
if you go
paid.
Too far one way, the wrong way. I don't want to keep you forever here. I want to get to the objects.
Why? This is more interesting.
I know. This is what I know I asked you about. Perfect. That. I don't want to waste that for you.
Perfect. You just opened up to one of the items that I'm going to talk about. I have worked on this case, and it was a pretty hardcore case. A person that was into practicing Satanism, and it was a very hardcore situation. Now, this, again, is based off of a case that I was involved with someone within the Roman Catholic Church. And when we had gone to help this gentleman out, we had found him in the corner of a room, in feces and urine and making all kinds of growling sounds and everything else. I mean, it was a really hardcore situation, and this man was very high up on the Arquee. We're practicing things and summonsing. And one of the tools that he ended up using was a rosary bead. He was able to use it in the reverse. And he would just, again, like I said, it was done on a negative and on, yeah, I'm putting that right around my face, right? And again, you know, it was used in a lot of different things. Do I believe that there's anything with this particular item at this point in time? I really don't believe there is. Right. Because it had more to do with the individual, the intent and purpose. But again, a lot of these things that can be used on a positive can also be used on a negative.
So it's a tool.
Really realize how many religious items that people can use and use it in a negative perspective, you know, to be able to do what they're involved with.
Yeah, because they're mocking it. They're making a mockery of the whole thing.
It's a tool.
And, yeah.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool. That's basically how you have to look at it. And so many times people will ask me, what is my very first haunted item that ever, you know, came into my possession or anything? And I think you heard me talk about this a couple of times. The first 2 years of Haunted Collector, the item went missing. They had taken it back to California. They wanted to use it in a couple of different promos and things like that. Okay. Nobody was ever able to tell me what happened to it. And I was so upset about it because it was one of my very first items. I was in the car with Ed and Lorraine. Ed throws it into the back seat. You want that, kid?
I remember.
But that's what started me with the whole thing. Then when Haunted Collector was done, they were cleaning out the storage area in the offices and everything. One of the guys sends me an email. He goes, a package is on its way. We found the little statue. And I never actually show it or ever talk about it. But it's just one of those types of things that, you know, means a lot to me. You know, again, it's just a little knick-knack type thing. A woman would collect them, and she had them. And she purchased this one, added it to her collection. She had called the Warrens in to investigate. And she said it was moving around, and we ended up removing it and everything. And that was the very first item I ever had as far as haunted items.
And it came back. How long did it take before it came back to you?
Well, it was after the third season when they were shutting everything and cleaning different things out, and they found it in the box that had a couple of other items that they had taken out of the museum. Wow. But, you know, again, it's a little tchotchke. It's no big deal, but it's just the simple fact of it that it bugged me. It was the very first item I ever had that was haunted or allegedly haunted, and I was just glad to be able to get it back. But, you know, people always ask me, I tell the story, but I never showed the item. That's
there you go. There she is.
Wow.
There she is. Yeah. So I just thought that would be cool to let people actually see it, because most people it never even made it into the promos.
Oh my.
When we were talking to this one medium, his name is Armand, and he was talking about haunted items, items with attachments. His theory was, or his belief as a medium was, that either, you know, there is energy attached to the actual item, or, you know, the spirit can be with the item, or you are almost doing like a channeling thing when you have the item and referring to an incident or a family member that you can kind of channel them in. What do you believe as far as any of that?
Okay. If I'm understanding you correctly, you're talking about a gentleman that was looking.
This is a medium. He was just handling different objects. Yeah. And he was saying that, you know, it could be this, or this. You know, do you think it all depends on the situation? Do you believe that an object can hold the energy of an actual person that owned it, or?
Okay. Yes and no.
Okay.
It depends on the circumstances, because one of the worst things is that, you know, with items, houses, and land, they can't talk to us, so we
Right.
can't get any information. That I look at items with, we have items that could be holding on to energy from its previous owner.
Right.
And it's just what you could even refer to as residual if you want. Yeah, it could be that way. You can have deliberate intent where energy is deliberately attached to an item, or you can have an item that is definitely cursed, or that was definitely used in rituals or things of that nature. So I look at those things from all different perspectives.
Depending on
depending on, if you're able to find out what it was tied in with, what are the circumstances. So a lot of times, trying to figure out exactly what's with an item or what.
Or something was like bound to an item intentionally, right? These are different circumstances. Yeah.
Yes. If you have an item, which could be an occult item or religious item, that's done with intent and purpose. It's deliberately that energy is bound to that item. It's sent to it. So therefore, I have to look at that and handle that from a totally different perspective, just like that. Rosary bead, the original intent purpose, it got countered. So therefore, when everything got done over it and everything, I don't think anything deliberately or did stay with it. Now, could I be wrong on that? I could. Now, when I take them back out of here and everything, will I throw my salt and holy water back on everything? Absolutely. I continuously do things like that because, again, intent and purpose is always something I keep an eye on, and you never know when you're going to get tricked.
You don't. I just have to say this because Nora just posted that one of the cards that she bought from a father of a young woman who was murdered in Cranford, she said she always felt her presence in the car.
You gotta send that car to John. Drive it over. He'll tell you where to park it.
No, John's like, no.
Oh, he's got room in there. I've seen the museum. He's got room in there. That's what I was thinking too. Paranormal hoarders. That would be a show. Paranormal. I don't know if you can get naked for that one, but you could be.
You can.
But that's it. That's another one too that it's a real tough one. I saw this one time. It was like a statue. I want to say African, but I'm not sure. But the whole purpose of the statue was that people could put a nail in it when they wanted to wish like harm onto someone. They would kind of, like you said, put that intent into the nail, into the statue, and bang, bang. You would think that with so many nails were in this one particular statue, that would be some bad juju. I mean, chock full of.
Again, it's
like, do you ever see an item that should be destroyed? Is there anything that cannot be cleansed, in your opinion?
Oh, there's plenty of items. There are several occult items that I have removed that got buried. Again, certain times you have to take that step back, and when you're dealing with something so hardcore or something that is to that point, the popularity of it today would go right through the roof.
Of course.
But I'm looking at it from another perspective where we're trying to bind or we're trying to do something to resolve an issue. So therefore, by letting go, not me, but letting the person let go and doing what needs to be done and putting it in the ground sometimes could be the best option. And a lot of times with those options, that's the key element. And
break the connection.
So there are a lot of times, and there are things that I just never have brought back, or they ended up getting buried.
And is that just to break the connection, so to speak?
Yes. Yeah.
Not to feed it anymore. Just out of curiosity, when we were talking about your private cases that you do, how does someone? I don't want you to be inundated with calls and whatever, but how does someone contact? Like, what's the usual method? Do they email you? Do they call you? Do they talk to you directly, or is there someone that you have screened them first?
No,
it's all you.
No.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh wow! I didn't know. I never asked you that before.
Yeah, the majority of the time, my number's listed, my emails on everything, my numbers on everything, and again, the majority of the stuff, especially since COVID,
right?
Again, when dealing with a lot of stuff, it's been through email or it's been over the phone.
Right.
And I don't know if I ever told you this, but in the beginning, when COVID hit, I was in the middle of helping a couple of priest friends of mine, and they were scheduling, they were going in to do the exorcisms, and it came back from Rome that they had to stop everything and shut everything
Oh
down
my God.
because it was this crazy. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, how could you just leave that person?
Well, no, that's not the point, John. The point of it is that it got out there that, already prior to anything even hitting here with COVID, they already were shutting everything down.
Okay.
So, but leaving the person hanging and everything like that, no, the spiritual people were still in contact with them.
Right.
It's just that they didn't want to take that chance of going in
Right.
and catching something. So therefore, again, it just amazes me how intertwined so many different things are that even our spiritual community was aware of things before it actually started hitting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were already shutting things down and saying, we just can't right at this point in time. And again, we're still at that mode, where you got to be extra cautious and careful. So there's a lot of things that, not necessarily got put, or ignored or anything like that. There's just, our hands are tied.
Yeah, that's the shame of this whole thing, is that a lot of people that did need help do need help, because we turned a lot of people away too and just said, look, especially in the early days, we're just not going anywhere.
We can't come into your house.
We're not leaving our home.
No.
And there's only so much you could do virtually. And
well, again too, though. But I mean, from a realistic perspective, myself or any of the guys on my team or any spiritual or clergy people I'm working with, you don't know what you're walking into.
No.
I mean, I'm not even talking paranormal.
I know. Jason Hall said he had a case where he had to hold somebody down and basically stick his foot on their chest because they were so out of control.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to, you got to be guarded, and
that's why I send Chris in first every time. That's what I do.
Again, you don't know what you're, because you just brought up another very good aspect that I just recently had this discussion with everybody. I said, you got to remember, with everybody, with so many people being locked in and being quarantined over 2.5 years, we got a lot of people going ticky ticky tock tock.
Oh,
and it's not paranormal.
Oh no.
So again, going back in and once everything starts opening up, we got a lot of variables that we got to take into account when getting involved with stuff.
But that's all part of this anyway. We talked about this before, and I don't want to go too much into this, but a lot of the paranormal, there's mental health involved. Some people have issues that aren't paranormal related, and sometimes it is about counseling. I mean, it is anyway from beginning to end, but you can't go in with the mindset that everything is going to be paranormal related. Sometimes people have other issues that are involved in the family dynamic, mental,
but it's also
medication.
Popular to have a haunt. Like everybody now, it's just that big thing. My house is haunted. Oh, yeah. I'm experiencing stuff. You got to.
How many videos of orbs?
Everybody wants to be part of this thing.
Oh,
so there's a lot of that.
Orbs?
Do you get a lot of those videos? I get tons of them, and I go crazy. And I drive people crazy.
He's sending them to you.
Watch out for those red ones. They're demonic. Those red. No, you better be careful.
Yeah, again, too, it's I don't know. It's just the nature of it because, like I said, it's once things open back up and again we start moving forward. I think the intensity of the fact of that we got to be even more guarded and careful with the residual effects from COVID on people as far as the mental state goes, period. I just do. I mean, again, that's just what we're going to be going into a different way of looking at things and the way to investigate. So, but that's a key thing that is important. And mostly anybody that knows me or been around me when I'm lecturing or talking or anything drives me right out of my mind when a paranormal group goes into a house. They're there for 10, 15 minutes and they start screaming they got demons coming up through the floor. I mean, once that seed gets planted in those poor people's minds,
it's there.
It's there, and I can't tell you how many times I'll be on a phone talking to somebody. They've had 6, 7 different paranormal groups in there. This one said that. This one said this. And it's like,
it's the truth. It's the truth.
But how do you help somebody that you can't even convince now that Satan isn't in their house?
Yeah.
I had a woman call me, and we talked, and it does open the door when you have a family member who has a mental illness. It makes you more open to
absolutely.
the different things.
Yes.
And I got talking to her, found out she had a ton of paranormal groups going in and out of her home. She had a bunch of psychic mediums, and she was paying them. And she called me, and she was just like, I was on the phone with her for, my God, over 2 hours. And it came down to, she was off her meds. She needed someone to talk to. She was afraid to get recommitted to go back on her meds because that's what they have to do. They monitor you. And we had a long discussion. Turned out she lived with her parents that were in their 80s that were just completely overwhelmed with what was happening.
Yeah.
Got them on the phone. And she ended up going back because I told her that I knew the process. I understood what she was afraid of. And we went through the whole process. And she got back on her meds and went. And I got a call later on that she was doing well.
Yeah.
And she stopped bringing in groups.
That's good. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, I could usually tell if I'm on the phone with somebody where they're going through that whole thing, telling me about, the whole kumbaya of everybody that's been in and out and everything. And then if I'm talking to them and I realize they're at least listening or paying attention, but then when they fire back at me, a lot of times, and they'll just say, well, you don't understand. You don't understand. Don't tell me I don't understand.
Oh my God.
I understand. I know.
Yeah.
So therefore, again, I understand that if you had somebody coming in and out and telling you some of these different things, is it a possibility? I'm not saying everybody's wrong. Right. I don't know unless I'm there and, I'm able to investigate for myself. But again, it's important to take your time when you get involved with an investigation. You have to go through a lot of things.
Yep.
And before you actually can turn around and say, okay, I think this is a possibility. Because I hear that all the time. People go, well, can't you come with your magic wand and just clear the house? No. I said, I don't know, maybe you can find somebody else to do it, but I can't. If it works, then, knock your socks off. So, but again, it's just the nature of it on what we deal with today and how, everything, goes about and the way it happens. And, today there's more demonologists out there that I've never heard of before.
Oh my God. I don't even want to get into.
Back and I go, who did you work with? Where did you come from? What did you, it just blows my mind.
I took a course online. Isn't that good enough?
Yeah.
I guess. According to 3/4 of what's going on today, I guess.
I mean, I get those calls about demons, and this is my usual practice, right? This is what I do. Hold on. I look at my phone. I go, John Zaffis is spelled Z-A-F-S, and here's his number. And that's how I handle those calls. That's where all those calls are coming from, just so you know. But no, you're right. TV, Hollywood has made, the people that may not have paranormal issues very afraid, and a lot of people think they do just based on, again, taking pictures in their homes and seeing
a lot of videos,
and they're thinking,
seeing a lot of videos of people on TikTok and different social medias that are sitting down with recorders. And what's that? The apps.
The apps.
And saying that their place is haunted and sitting in their bedrooms and doing stuff like that. And that scares the crap out of me.
It's so popular now.
Yeah. It's mainstream. It's everywhere.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect mainstream.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that, they're sitting down doing EVP sessions and, provoking and doing everything. And I'm like, okay, how do if you're doing all this and you have an issue, I said, okay, and yeah, but I want answers. I want to know what it is. And I'm like, okay, then, again, if you want some type of resolution with it, then you have to stop doing that. And you'd be surprised, most of them won't stop doing it anymore.
No. I always say, if you're not a mechanic, don't go out and fix your car. If you're not a person that is well versed in this, don't do this. These are the
lectures I get all the time about everything. By the way, this is an insight into our home, whether it be about cooking or anything else here. But anyway, John, I thank you again so much. John will be at Para-Unity in July, God willing, if everything is good.
New Jersey Para-Unity.
Yeah, New Jersey Para-Unity, not those other ones that are out there wherever. But God willing, everything is good and people are okay to be together. John will be there. What are you laughing at, John? Is the Para-Unity? Does that trigger something?
Chris.
Anyway, he will be there. So you can meet him face to face. And John, I worship you. You're one of the You're the Yoda of the paranormal for me. And if you don't know him,
his bucket list was checked off when you.
Oh my God! That was highlight. That was definitely.
He talks about. That all the time.
I really thought I was going to get a message saying that his house was for sale the next day, and he was going to move to undisclosed location after that. But lo and behold, I think he's still there. But thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
I had a great time that day when you guys came down too. I enjoyed it, and we all had a good time and everything. And
I really like Cheryl.
I said, sweetie, that's my honey.
Yes.
That's my baby. She puts up with me and been dealing with me all these freaking years.
Cool little known fact she's not into the paranormal, for those of you who don't know. That was surprising for me.
No.
But she is a very interesting person, period. I enjoyed our time together and her coming out and talking a lot.
She talks and intermingles more now than she ever did before.
Yeah.
She gets a little bit more intrigued by different things, because then later on we'll be sitting watching TV and she'll bring this up or bring that up and I'll go, huh? And then
surprise.
Sit there and have a conversation. Or a lot of times now too, I'll be sitting watching something and I'll start talking about it and she'll look at me and she'll go, how did you even know that? Because I love watching the Science Channel with all the tombs and all these discovery type things. I love stuff like that. And I start rattling off different stuff, and she'll look at me and she'll go, well, how do you even know that? And I'll turn and look at her and I go, well, I've been doing this for 50 years. I better know something.
And she's been with you forever. That's the thing, right? I mean, how long have you been married?
44, 44.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how people could be together that long?
No,
we have that too.
Because she knows him a certain way.
Yeah, I don't know. We've been together so long, I don't even know.
Yeah. Before we get in trouble, either of us. John, thank you again. Looking forward to seeing you in July. Stay healthy.
Yes.
Don't go out there doing anything nuts like
and Cheryl.
Anything?
Oh, she gets back on her feet completely and is.
Yeah, no, she's doing good. She thank God she had all her shots and her boosters and everything, and after 3 or 4 days, she bounced right back. So she did good. Again, how me running around out doing a few of the things I've done, I haven't caught something. I'm still shocked.
Well, knock on wood. Knock on wood. Thanks again, John. By the way, nice shirt.
Brand new one. Brand new.
That's how you know he likes us. That is a new shirt that
I just bust out laughing because everybody always says you got 3 or 4 shirts that you wear. People just don't realize I have 4 or 5 of the same shirt.
Why not?
All right, John. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one. Stay safe. Take care.
Good night, John.
That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back Saturday night from the Creeper Gallery, New Hope, Pennsylvania, talking about haunted objects. We'll be investigating them ourselves. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Be kind.
And we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, that was funny. That was really, really funny.